The Three Blind Mice are hosting the Painted Green Invitational. Take any casting, paint it green. Seems simple enough. For some reason, I decided on this turd of a casting. The paint is trash. I think I chose it because A, it's green to start off with, which I didn't have to choose something that started off as green. But I've always loved the Datsun Z cars, and this is the Hot Wheels Z-Whiz, which is based upon those Z cars. This was designed by Larry Wood, and I remember the first time I rode in a Datsun 240Z, and it was really cool, and it was really different than the cars I was really familiar with up to that point in time. This is kind of a cross between the 240, 260, 280Z series. This one, as you can see, has a metal body, metal base, blackwall wheels, and fortunately, enough intact, all clear blue interior. There's that little chunk of the windshield that's at the base of the windshield that kind of kept the top and bottom. You see how it folds? That little thing was kind of a little lock in a way. It falls into an opening that you see there to hold it together. Well, fortunately, when that piece broke off, and this is kind of brittle, it's old. We're talking about, this thing goes back to I think I was in high school when this came out. So it's old, really old. The glass isn't in great shape, but it's good enough. A lot of this casting is just good enough. So I'm trying to do a restoration of sorts, a rattle can restoration, naturally, because I still don't airbrush. I did mention, I believe, that this has the blackwall wheels on it. The first year of issue for this, it did have Redlines. So, yeah, I'm taking it back to Redlines. Because that's what I do so many times, because I love Redline wheels. The casting was beat to hell. And it wasn't just the paint that was bad, but this had been pretty play-worn. So it took a lot of filing, cleaning up of all the areas, and I had to decide on a point to stop. There's only so much on some of these that you can do to try and bring them back, at least with my skill level. And I don't want to lose a lot of the detail in the process, or get carried away and lose the shape of the car, or an important aspect of the car, because of all the filing. So I got it to that point, and I was pretty happy with it at that point. I end up hitting that with Metalcast base coat, the silver base coat, because there's no way I'm going to polish this thing up to the shine that I need. And so I was happy with it. I did point out some still little flaws. After that, I hit it with the Krylon Stained Glass Summer Green that you've seen me use before. And again, the Minwax I've been using recently, that polycrylic, that's tough to say, clear gloss, seemed to work pretty well on this. The glass, yeah, it's rough. The louvers in the back, this was one that was tempting to detail and just paint the louvers black and paint the taillights and do a lot of detail. But the more I thought about it, this wasn't the direction I wanted to take with it. I was trying to do somewhat of a restoration. I polished the front glass once, was not happy with it. So I'm sanding it here with 3000 grit sandpaper. That's on foam, and that works a little better. And then I repolished it again after that with the flits and got it to a point that I'm pretty happy with. It's not fantastic, but I end up hitting it with the gauzy for everybody playing the game. And gauzy hides a multitude of flaws. That's one of the nice things about the thickness of gauzy. I'm not sure that a pledge coat would have done this as well because of the thinness of the pledge coat. Gauzy is definitely a thicker coating. And this is the kind of situation that it really helps out in. I'm not saying the glass ends up perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's much better than it was. I don't know if you can even get replacement glass for something like this. It's not something I could really vacuum form well because I don't think the rear louvers would come out well. I think they'd end up more rounded because of the nature of the vacuum form process, and they weren't super crisp to start off with. I did throw the base into a 50-50 mix of water and lime away. Let that bubble for a little while. I think it was like a couple minutes, something like that. It wasn't too long. You have to keep an eye on it. Polish the hell out of that base and figured out, it needs a lot of sanding on the bumpers. So this is sped up a little bit because it needed to be. The bumpers started out horribly rough. They end up only slightly rough. This definitely does not finish looking like a new car that's still in the blister pack kind of thing. No, I don't get it there. But I think you'll like where it ends up. I hope you like where it ends up. I'm happy with it. But it's far from mint or anything like that. Sanding down the bumpers definitely helped those a lot. And then I just polished the crap out of it again with Flitz. And once that was done and all rubbed out, then I went over it here with the Renaissance wax just to seal that in. And I do end up putting quite a bit on here. I'm not sure why I put so much on here, but the Renaissance wax also helps me pull out any of the remaining Flitz polish residue. And I had to get in there with toothpicks and, you name it. I was trying to get into the little nooks and crannies. Did it the best I could. And then it was time to do the red lines. Those are the resin printed bearings that I do have a file on Thingiverse for those. Print those up. I printed a boatload of those a while ago, so they last me a little while because I don't resin print things that often. And then it's just a matter of using the straight pins, crimping the bearings on there, which it seems like it should go really easily, but the tips of the pins and the fence pliers sometimes, well, yeah. You have to keep an eye on it. But once you get it crimped on there, they aren't going anywhere. And I won't take you through, doing both axles and all of that. We'll jump ahead here in a second. But once you have it crimped and you're sure that it fits, and if it's too long, it's easy enough to just, and more than half the time it happens for me when I do it, they're too long. And then I end up cutting a tiny bit more off the axle and re-crimping it just to shorten it a little bit more. But you get it to that happy point, and then with the bearing style wheels, it's easy enough to throw the red lines on there. These are from Bright Vision, and they look great. They look brand new because they are brand new. And there's just something about these old castings with red lines that even new castings with red lines look great, at least in my opinion. And so, once you have them on there, I did end up putting just a little tiny spot of CA glue to kind of take the place of what was holding the bearings in or holding the axles in originally, that metal that I had to grind out of there to be able to remove the axles. So, but again, it's just very little. I'm not putting a lot of glue to keep the axle, solid, or it's not a mass. It's just a dot. And then you're done. It's a matter of throwing it all back together. I do like this green. The Krylon Summer Green has a nice look to it. The stained glass paints. You may remember I did this on the Christmas build, the Santa sleigh. That I did it, I believe, a little bit darker in that case. Just more coats and made it a little darker. It worked wonderfully on that build. And again, it worked really great here for me. It's a very easy paint to use. Again, this is all rattle can too. And, it rolls like a champ, as you'll see here in a second. So there's where we started. Yeah, it was rough. That's putting it my... I love how the one wheel kind of stuck out. I could push it back in, but I loved how it also stuck out like that. And here's where we ended up. Again, it doesn't look like it's, straight out of a blister pack kind of thing. But if it was sitting in your collection of toys you were playing with, my guess is it would be one of the better conditioned ones in the box. Anyhow, I hope everybody enjoyed this video. It was fun to paint it green. Please check out everyone else participating in this 3 Blind Mice event. Hopefully we're having a great turnout for this. Here's some glamour shots on the build. The 3 Blind Mice Diecast YouTube channel will have a recap video. And so that'll also make it a little easier for you to find these builds. But it was fun painting it green. Everybody stay safe and healthy out there. Thanks for watching these videos. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Thank you so much to my Patreon members for all of their support. And I'll catch you in the next one.